When Fast and Loud roared onto television screens, it brought with it a whirlwind of burnout smoke, last-minute builds, and personality clashes that made it must-watch reality TV. Amid the chaos, one man stood out, not for being the loudest or most dramatic, but for being the most consistent. Jason Aker was the calm in the storm. He didn't care about the cameras or the catchphrases. He cared about getting the details right. Every project that passed through Gas Monkey Garage had Jason's fingerprints on it. His steady hands, his old-school technique, and his no-nonsense approach to quality. While Richard Rawlings played the ringmaster and Aaron Kaufman took on the wild builds, Jason quietly became the craftsman that true gearheads respected the most. What made Jason unique wasn't just his ability with a paint gun or a sanding block, it was his obsession with doing things the right way, even when no one was watching. He wasn't there to be famous. He was there to preserve the soul of a car. His knowledge of original factory finishes, concours-level preparation, and precision paintwork elevated every build he touched. And fans noticed. Despite rarely speaking on camera, Jason developed a loyal following, people who appreciated skill over spectacle. While others chased fame, Jason chased perfection. But when Fast and Loud ended, Jason vanished from the spotlight just as quietly as he entered it. No exit interview, no farewell episode, just gone. And in a world where everyone chases likes and followers, his silence became a mystery. Where did he go? Why did he walk away? And more importantly, was he still building? This is the story of Jason Aker, the master restorer who chose craftsmanship over celebrity, and whose quiet legacy might just be louder than anyone expected. Jason Aker wasn't your typical reality TV mechanic. While others were cracking jokes or fighting deadlines for the camera, Jason was laser-focused on a finish so smooth it could reflect your soul. He wasn't just a painter. He was a restorer in the purest sense. His specialty? Concours-level detail that went beyond cosmetics. Every stroke of his sanding block, every layer of primer, every feathered edge of clear coat. He approached the surface of a car the way a sculptor approaches marble. At Gas Monkey Garage, where time was money and drama sold episodes, Jason offered something rare: patience. When others were rushing a job for the next build reveal, Jason was still in the booth, checking for pinholes or uneven curing. He didn't care about screen time, he cared about craftsmanship. And that obsession with quality made him a fan favorite, even if he barely spoke. Viewers noticed that the cleanest, glossiest, deepest paint jobs on Fast and Loud always had Jason's fingerprints behind them. What most fans didn't realize was how high the stakes were. These weren't casual spray jobs. Jason was often tasked with restoring rare Mustangs, Shelbys, and other investment-grade cars for clients who expected perfection. The difference between a good paint job and a flawless one wasn't just visual. It could mean tens of thousands in value at auction. And Jason never missed. His attention to prep was legendary. Hours spent wet sanding, dialing in the paint booth, choosing materials that would age well and hold depth under bright lights. Some people paint cars to look good today. Jason painted them to still look good in 20 years. The title, Paint Whisperer, wasn't a nickname. It was an earned identity. And to this day, other builders reference his methods as the gold standard. Before TV fame ever found him, Jason Aker had already earned a name in elite restoration circles. Born and raised in Oklahoma, Aker grew up surrounded by vintage iron and old-school craftsmanship. His reputation wasn't built overnight. It came from decades of real work. Long before Fast and Loud, he was restoring rare Ford Mustangs and Shelbys with a level of detail that attracted serious collectors and historians. His early career included extensive work with R&A Motorsports, a renowned shop specializing in concours-level builds. Jason wasn't a hot rodder in the traditional sense. He wasn't chasing crazy horsepower numbers or trying to reinvent the wheel. His goal was authenticity, making a 1967 Shelby GT 500 look and feel exactly like it rolled off the line. And when it came to paint, his standards were even higher than the factories. He learned old techniques from restoration veterans, but also adapted modern tools and materials to perfect what others thought was good enough. By the time Richard Rawlings came calling, Jason was already in a league of his own. That's why Rawlings wanted him, because Gas Monkey was stepping into serious territory with million-dollar builds, and they needed someone who wouldn't cut corners. Jason became the quiet ace up their sleeve. He didn't have a wild personality like Aaron Kaufman, but he brought just as much value, if not more, because his work gave Gas Monkey Garage credibility among real collectors. In fact, it was Jason's off-camera experience that gave Fast and Loud a level of depth. The audience might have tuned in for the flashy flips and road tests, but behind the scenes, it was craftsmen like Jason who gave the builds staying power. If you saw a Gas Monkey car win awards or break auction records, chances are Jason Aker had something to do with it. He wasn't new to the game. He was a master who finally got noticed, on his own terms. When Fast and Loud ended in 2020, most of the cast either chased new fame or vanished entirely. But for Jason Aker, the show's ending wasn't the end. It was a return to the kind of quiet, focused work he loved before cameras ever entered the garage. While fans speculated where he went or what he was doing, Jason never made a splashy announcement, never launched a YouTube channel, and never tried to ride the wave of his TV popularity. He simply went back to work. That move confused some fans, but for those who understood him, it made perfect sense. Jason wasn't in it for followers or fame. He was in it for the craft. The day after Fast and Loud aired its final episode, Jason was likely back in a booth somewhere, mask on, spray gun in hand, dialing in metallic flake on a classic Mustang. No sponsors, no hashtags, just work. Rumors circulated. Some said he'd joined other high-end shops as a contract specialist. Others claimed he'd opened a small private facility in Oklahoma, taking only word-of-mouth clients. No signs, no marketing, just perfection. Every few months, a sharp-eyed fan would spot his name in a concours entry or on a builder's post, proof that Jason hadn't disappeared. He'd just gone underground. And in a world where builders often become influencers, Jason became a ghost. One who still left behind flawless builds that people couldn't stop talking about. After Fast and Loud ended, the custom car world assumed Jason Aker would either retire into obscurity or finally take the spotlight. Instead, he popped up somewhere that caught everyone off guard. Bitchin' Rides. In a brief but notable appearance, Jason was seen collaborating with Dave Kindig and his team, a shop known for its polish, precision, and perfectionism, an environment perfectly suited to Aker's quiet intensity. This cameo wasn't just fan service. It was a silent endorsement from one of the biggest names in the game. Dave Kindig doesn't let just anyone work under his roof. That Jason was trusted to touch the same cars that went to SEMA and Pebble Beach said everything. The Kindig It Garage may operate in a different style than Gas Monkey, but the respect between true craftsmen runs deep. Behind the scenes, insiders say Jason wasn't there long, just long enough to assist with some specialized paintwork and final touches on a couple of high-end builds. For Jason, it wasn't about fame or a new full-time gig. It was about helping out, sharing knowledge, and keeping his hands in the kind of world-class work that gets his blood pumping. After Kindig It, Jason's trail gets even fainter. He's appeared briefly in a few social media posts by builders and collectors, always low-key, always in the background. He isn't chasing exposure. He's chasing excellence. Whether it's a Ferrari resto mod or a Shelby concours build, Jason's hands leave a signature few can replicate. And those who've worked with him say the same thing. His standards haven't slipped 1 inch. He may not have stuck around for more episodes or tried to capitalize on his Kindig cameo, but his presence there confirmed what fans already knew. Jason Aker is still one of the most respected artisans in the restoration world, even if he won't admit it himself. Jason's decision to step away from the spotlight wasn't a retreat. It was a return to where he always belonged. A quiet shop, a clean booth, and a car that deserved his full attention. Since Fast and Loud ended and his brief appearance at Kindig, Jason has embraced a low-profile lifestyle focused entirely on private projects. Not secretive, just silent. No need for social media validation or flashy builds with camera crews lurking. Just cars, tools, and time. Rumors suggest he's based out of a small garage in Oklahoma, working on select builds for elite clients. People who don't want TV drama or social media posts, just excellence. One source claims Jason's now only accessible by referral, taking on 1 or 2 full restorations per year. These aren't flips. They're legacy builds, cars that take months, even years, to finish. The kind of projects that end up in museums, private collections, or on concours lawns. Unlike many of his former castmates, Jason hasn't launched a brand. No Jason Aker merch, no branded spray guns, no masterclass for aspiring painters. He simply works. And in that silence, his legend continues to grow. He's become something rare in the industry. A craftsman who doesn't need to chase the algorithm to prove his worth. His work does the talking. Every now and then, a concours judge or high-end collector will whisper, "I think Aker did this one." And when you hear that, you know the car isn't just good, it's next level. That's the new Jason Aker, a phantom in the garage world, building perfection for those who truly understand what it means. So why did Jason Aker leave television behind? Especially when he had the talent, fan base, and opportunity to do so much more. The answer lies in something that's become increasingly rare. Authenticity. For Jason, TV wasn't a career goal. It was a temporary chapter. A way to reach a larger audience, yes, but never a comfortable fit. While others leaned into the cameras, Aker leaned out. His heart was in the work, not the angles, the takes, or the drama. Insiders from Fast and Loud have since admitted that Jason struggled with the production environment. The time crunches, the stage tension, the need to repeat a job just to get the shot. That kind of artificiality clashed hard with a man who measures progress in millimeters, not minutes. He once told a colleague, "If I wanted to fake stuff, I'd work in marketing, not cars." That pretty much says it all. There's also a deeper reason. Jason's entire career has been built on trust and reputation. In his world, your word and your work is everything. And when reality TV blurred those lines, he quietly exited. Not out of spite, not with a big statement, just a quiet choice to protect what mattered most: the integrity of the craft. He doesn't resent his time on Fast and Loud. In fact, by most accounts, he's proud of the exposure it brought to real restoration work. But once the cameras stopped rolling, he didn't miss them. He didn't need them. Fame, for Jason, was never the goal. Precision was. And if stepping away meant fewer Instagram followers but better builds, that was a trade he was happy to make. In the car world, reputations are everything. One slip, one bad job, one dishonest invoice, and you're done. But ask anyone who's worked with Jason Aker, shop owners, private collectors, even judges at concours events, and you'll hear one word come up again and again: integrity. Jason didn't just earn respect by building flawless cars, he earned it by being honest, consistent, and dependable in an industry that often rewards flash over substance. He wasn't the guy chasing magazine covers or Instagram likes. He wasn't giving TED Talks about paint correction or bragging about celebrity clients. He was the guy who showed up early, stayed late, and triple-checked the sanding before the final spray coat. That kind of dedication, without ego, made him not just good, but legendary among those who know. In fact, many restoration shops still keep Aker's name on a mental shortlist, not because he's available, but because having him touch your project, even for a few weeks, means the difference between very good and best in class. His attention to detail borders on obsessive, and his standards? Higher than most clients even demand. One story tells of Jason refusing to ship a completed build until he was satisfied with the clear coat, after it had already passed inspection. That's who he is. And it's not just about the cars. People trust Jason with their most valuable projects because they know he won't cut corners, won't ghost them, and won't inflate a story for clout. In a world where builders often become influencers, Jason remains what many wish they could be: a true craftsman, free of gimmicks, guided by principles, and motivated solely by the pursuit of excellence. So, what does Jason Aker's life actually look like now? Quiet, focused, purposeful. Based out of Oklahoma, Jason reportedly works out of a private shop. Small, no signage, and strictly referral only. There's no business listing, no official social accounts, and no marketing team pushing out builds for YouTube clicks. It's almost as if he doesn't want to be found, unless you really know where to look. And that's by design. After years in the TV spotlight and decades in demanding high-end restoration work, Jason's earned the right to slow down and work at his own pace. Some say he only takes on 2 or 3 full projects per year now, often involving vintage Corvettes, Shelbys, or rare European exotics brought in by serious collectors. These aren't fast builds, they're passion builds. The kind of cars where every bolt is OEM or hand-fabricated, where paint thickness is measured in microns, and where every stitch of upholstery tells a story. Outside of the shop, Jason is said to live a modest life. No flashy cars in the driveway, no interviews on car podcasts, and no plans to jump back into television. He reportedly spends time with family, enjoys the quiet of Oklahoma, and even teaches restoration principles to a small circle of apprentices, privately, not publicly, not for content, for craft. While some fans wish he'd come back to the screen or share his process online, those who truly understand Jason know why he won't. His builds are personal. His life is peaceful. And after years in the storm of reality TV and shop politics, peace is more valuable than any spotlight. Jason Aker didn't become a household name. He didn't build a billion-dollar brand. He didn't flood YouTube with how-to videos or launch a merch line. What he did was rarer. He quietly became one of the most respected craftspeople in the custom car world, without ever raising his voice. That's a legacy most TV stars will never touch. His legacy isn't just in the builds he completed, it's in how he carried himself, with humility, with precision, with patience. He reminded the industry that not every expert needs to be an entertainer, and not every great story needs to be shouted. Some of the best ones are told in whispers, through the smoothness of a paint job, the alignment of a fender, or the gleam of a finished panel that took weeks to perfect. In a culture obsessed with followers, views, and viral clips, Jason's impact is found in quieter places. In the sigh of a collector seeing their dream car restored beyond expectations. In the respectful nods from peers who know just how hard that level of detail is to achieve. In the awe of young builders realizing that this is what real skill looks like when it's not chasing fame. As the years pass, Jason Aker may fade further from the public eye, but for those who value craftsmanship over clout, he'll always be remembered. Not for sound bites, but for silence. Not for the drama, but for the discipline. And not for the fame he earned, but the respect he never asked for. And still got anyway. Still got anyway. Still got